So, welcome to Tableau Conference. I hope everybody had a great time. Welcome to this talk, Join Us for Joins. The alternative title was The Joy in Joins, because joins make me and probably can make you very happy. We're here to talk about how joins can help us alleviate some of the aches and pains of doing business and get the answers that we really want. My name is Terrence Moss. I work on the Tableau Prep team in Austin, Texas.
And my name is Joanna Chen. I also work on the Tableau Prep team as a software engineer out of Palo Alto.
Yes. And today we are going to cover joins. What's really cool about them in a general sense. We're going to give a short intro to Tableau Prep, in particular focusing on the join experience in Tableau Prep. And then we're going to go through a series of practical and varied join cases. Along the way, we'll stop for some quick clarifying questions, but we'll have a Q&A at the end for bigger, more general pieces. Cool. So, first, what's so great about joins? A lot of things are great about joins. I had originally written down that they are arguably the most powerful relational transformation, but there's really no argument there. They're the best. They're better than unions, aggregates, whatever you want. No rivalry between the Tableau Prep team, join team, and the aggregate team, I swear. What's so great about joins? A lot. In fact, if you work with data, you work with joins. There is basically no exception to that. Most of the value of anybody's data is how we can connect it to other data. And the only way to do that is with a join. So that is really the most fundamental purpose of a join, but it actually can go a lot further than that. Joins can reshape your data. Given that you can match a row in one table with any number of rows in another table, you can tweak your join options to basically change the shape of your data and enable many different kinds of analysis. Furthermore, joins also select your data. They provide a bar in the form of join clauses that your data will reach or not reach. And it basically partitions it into two blocks. And that can be a very useful tool, especially in conjunction with Tableau Prep. And oftentimes, as we'll see later, that little line that it draws through the data, we tend to keep some, but that other part, that mismatched part of a join, can often be just as useful for finding further insights. So no matter who you are, if you're a researcher, if you're a business analyst, you can find a purpose for joins. Even if you, like me, are the owner of a fictional restaurant. It's been my dream for many years. I chose a fictional restaurant chiefly because I like food a lot, and I'll return to that later, but also because a restaurant involves a varied series of processes, and you can collect data on all sorts of things: employees, schedules, orders, menu items. It's just kind of scratching the surface here, and that opens the door to a lot of questions. Am I allocating my restaurant's resources effectively? Are my data collection processes good? Is my food pairing well together? But to answer all these things, we are going to employ Tableau Prep, which I'm sure many of you have seen, but perhaps could use a refresher, or maybe haven't taken a dive into what it can do for joins. So Joanna will continue talking more about Tableau Prep.
Yeah, so Tableau Prep, we've kind of talked about it throughout the week, and some of you may have attended the sessions, but I want to make sure everyone's on the same page here. So what is Tableau Prep? Tableau Prep is Tableau's latest solution for data preparation. Version 1 was just released earlier this year in April. And while traditional data preparation is difficult and time-consuming, we hope that Tableau Prep will enable you to clean your data more quickly so you can get to the insights that you want. Terrence and I are super excited to share this Tableau experience with you. And just like how Tableau makes visualizing data easy and beautiful, we believe that Tableau Prep makes data preparation intuitive and easy to follow. We hope that by the end of this presentation, you'll be knowledgeable in Tableau Prep's basic functionality, and particularly with Tableau Prep's join experience. I'm going to quickly run down the main components of the software. So let's begin. When you first open Tableau Prep, you'll hit a landing page like this. For those of you who have used Tableau, which I assume is everybody in this room, this will look really familiar. You can access your recent files, check out some sample flows provided by Tableau, or connect to your own data. When you connect to data or open a flow, you'll hit something that looks like this. You can still manage all of your connections on the connection pane that's shown on the left-hand side. You can add, edit, or remove your connections. And the connection pane also shows all the tables from your connection. Next, we have the flow pane. The flow pane is one of 3 major views in Tableau Prep. Here, the flow pane provides a high-level view of our cleaning steps. And it is visually designed so that you can tell what type of cleaning action you've done at each step. For example, we have input steps that are represented by circles, and an additional icon is shown inside the circle to tell us what type of data we've connected to, whether that's a text file, Excel sheet, or some database connection. When we're finished cleaning our data and ready to visualize in Tableau, we will need to create an output step. The output step is represented by a gray square. And here we can configure our output, adjusting the file location or the output type. Currently we have TDE, Hyper, and CSV export types supported. Next, we have our cleaning steps. You'll probably do the majority of your work here. The cleaning step is represented by a colored horizontal bar, and additional icons are shown above it. For example, if we look into this yellow cleaning step, in the center, labeled Clean 3, we can see that we've done a remove column, merge fields, and a rename column. Finally, we have distinct icons for each of the major transformations, like pivot, aggregate, union, and of course, join. And that's the flow pane. Next, we're going to zoom in a level deeper. The second major view of Tableau Prep is the profile pane. And the profile pane zooms in just one layer deeper than the flow pane. Here, when we select a step, we can see all of the columns inside that step and a distribution of our sampled rows. To the left of our profile pane, we can expand a changes pane. And the changes pane lists all of the steps that we've done in order that we've performed them. We can step back to any point at the changes pane to see a snapshot of our data at that point. Finally, there's the data grid. The data grid, once again, steps in one level deeper than the profile pane, and it shows individual row tuples from our sample set of data. This gives you even more granular control in the data preparation process. And that's it. That's Tableau Prep in a nutshell. I'm going to hand it back to Terrence, who's going to go into more detail about the join experience in Tableau Prep.
Yeah. So you all saw the cleaning steps, and you all saw the other transform steps that we have up there. Every transform step has a unique experience tailored for it. In this case, we're going to talk about the join experience. So here you can see much of the profile pane is pushed off to the right, and we have another area over here, which is the core join experience pane. Join experience pane has your join clauses at the top. This is all interactive with nice little drop-down animations. You can add as many join clauses as you want. Below that is the join type picker. It's represented by a Venn diagram of 2 circles. Circle on the left represents one table, circle on the right represents the other, and their intersection represents the rows that are matched by your join clauses. This is also interactive, and you can click any segment of it to sort of activate it and change your join type from an inner join to outer joins to whatever kind of join you want, which we will also return to later. Below that is the join summary. You have a series of bars here that represent how many rows were included or excluded by the join condition from each table. Again, big surprise, this is interactive, and you can click on any of these join bars and it will update the profile pane and data grid to show that section of the join. To the right of the join pane and in the middle of your screen, you have the join clauses pane. Now, this is something that we received a lot of feedback on as we were developing the join experience. A lot of people wanted a closer view into the details of what was making the cut and not making the cut in their join conditions. So what this is all of the columns that are in your join clauses. Instead of showing a histogram of values, we just show every value that's present. And all of the values that are highlighted in red are values that did not match in your join clause. So, now that we're a little bit more familiar with our toolkit, we're going to roll into the first of our cases.
All right, thank you, Terrence. So, in our first example, we're going to see how using the join experience in Tableau Prep can help you find errors in your data set and set a bar of quality for your data. So far, we know that in every join, we have a join condition that is used to match each row of our table. Usually, the join result combines the matched rows from the two tables and excludes the unmatched rows. In Tableau Prep, we pay equal attention to the values that are matched and the values that are unmatched. And in general, if we have a table that we can use as a source of truth, we can use the columns from this table to set a standard in the data quality for other tables. Let's go back to Terrence's restaurant to demonstrate this case. The restaurant has been running for a few weeks now, and as a Golden State Warriors fan, I can say that Terrence's restaurant orders are flowing in like Steph Curry's three-pointers. The restaurant is on fire. Well, not in a literal sense, but we feel pretty good about the opening weeks. Terrence has his employees record his orders in an orders table. You can imagine that during hectic service hours, it is possible that data can be entered incorrectly. Terrence also has an employees table, which he has made himself, and he knows is error-free and accurate. Let's see how we can use this table to verify the quality of our orders table. Whenever we explore a new set of data, one of the first things we want to do is make sure that we can trust this data and that the data is up to data quality. So I'm going to switch over to Tableau Prep. And here we have Tableau Prep. Here I have a table of all of my orders for the week. They've been unioned together and brought into one cleaning step in yellow. Below, I have my table of employees with my servers filtered out. To do a join in Tableau Prep, we simply need to drag one step on top of the other step and into the join drop target. Just like that, we've done a join. You can see that Tableau Prep has automatically populated my join clause to match server with my server first name. And since we know that our employees table is accurate and reliable, these red values here, which represent the unmatched values from our join clause, is indicative of a data quality issue. If we look closely, we can see that these are various misspellings of servers' names. In Tableau Prep, we can directly clean this by simply double-clicking and changing it to the value that we want. Now, changing these values one by one can be pretty tedious. And since now we know that the issue lies in our server name, we can go back to our orders and find that column. Here, we can just do a simple group and replace with common characters. When I go back to my join, I can see that most of the mismatched values have been fixed now, excluding one. So I can just do this manually as well. Now we know that all of the server names from our order match the server names from our employees table. We were able to use this table to verify some mistakes that we found in our orders table. And just like that, we made the data quality in our orders table a little bit better. So to summarize what we just did, we used our employees table to verify our orders table. We found some errors in our orders table through the mismatched values. And finally, we cleaned the misspelled values directly in our join. We found an easier way to do that in the previous cleaning step as well, using a group and replace. We could use the same method to verify more columns. For example, if there were misspellings in our menu items, we could do a join on our menus table. Even outside of Terrence's restaurant, this method is applicable anytime you have a table that you can use as a quality bar. Finding errors in a data set and fixing them constitutes a large portion of data preparation. With many, many rows of data, this can be hard and painful. However, if you have a table that you can trust and you have Tableau Prep's join experience, you can really speed up this tedious process. Now that we feel pretty good about our data quality, we're ready to do some joins for analysis. In this section, I'm going to cover why it can be important to capture all of the values for a dimension, and also how we can utilize unmatched values from our join. The outer join enables us to achieve this. In our first example, you may have noticed that Tableau Prep defaulted our join type to an inner join. In an inner join, we keep only the rows that match the join clause. However, sometimes it is important to keep the unmatched values in our join result as well. This is where outer joins come in, and Tableau Prep makes it easy to change our join from an inner join to a left or right outer join, or to a full outer join, or really anywhere in between. When we do a left join, we are including all of the values from the left table, even if they are not matched by our join clause. Similarly, this is done for the right table on a right join, and for both tables on a full outer join. Rows that are unmatched are included in the join result with null values filled in. So why would we ever want to use outer joins? Well, sometimes a single table does not contain all the possible values in an axis. And oftentimes when we visualize in Tableau, we want to see our data against the full domain. For example, if our data points are points in time, we probably want to plot it against a full axis of time. Or if we have sales in the United States, we want to be able to visualize all of the states. Outer joins can be used to get the complete domain of a dimension that your data could otherwise be missing. So let's go back to Terrence's restaurant for a bit. Terrence wants to know how his menu is doing, what's selling, and what's not really popular. He started by making a viz in Tableau. Here you can see all of the menu items that customers have ordered, sorted by the number of times that they've been ordered. We can see that Shrimp Scampi is doing really well. He's also filtered this viz down into two other views. So here we can see our top 5, and here we can see the unpopular menu items. Seems like cafe latte and Peroni and spaghetti are not doing so great. But this viz is actually missing information. What Terrence doesn't see is orders that are not ordered by customers at all. And orders that aren't ordered at all are definitely unpopular menu items. So how can we include this in our visualization? We have our full menus in our menu table, and the orders only shows items that are ordered at least once. We can perform a join with item to fill in the missing items that are not present on the orders table. Let's see this in Tableau Prep. So here I have all of my orders from this week. They've been unioned together in a wildcard union. And here I have my menu. So again, I'm going to drag and drop to do a join. We can see that caprese and pizza margherita are excluded from this join. And if we look into the summary of join results, we can see that these two values are excluded from our join. We want both of these values to be included into our join. So all we need to do is change our join type. In order to include the unmatched values from our menu table, just click on this portion of the Venn diagram. See how it is filled in now, and our two items that were previously excluded are now included in our join result. We can also see, if we search for our items, that these two items are now part of the join. Now, when Terrence goes back to visualize in Tableau Prep, he can see that pizza margherita and caprese are at the bottom of his menus by popularity. And when he looks at his unpopular items, they're there as well. So to summarize what we just did, we took our orders table that had all of our customer orders and we joined it with our menu to ensure that we had a complete view of our menu items, including menus that were not ordered. Then we changed the join type from an inner join to a right join to make sure that these unmatched values were included in our output so we can visualize it in Tableau. We used the join summary view to easily tell to see which values were included and which were excluded. So anytime you have gaps in your data, you can join it with a table of a full domain to fill in these gaps. Many times this is useful for getting the complete view, especially when visualizing in Tableau. So in my next example, I'm going to show how unmatched values of a join can be useful. We talked about full outer joins before, but in case you forgot, the Venn diagram looks something like this. Here, both circles are filled, and we include the unmatched data from both tables in our join result. Let's see how we can use this join to help Terrence schedule his employees. So back at Terrence's restaurant, we've hired some new employees, and they do not have shifts yet assigned to them. Likewise, we have a table that contains the schedule of our shifts, and some of these shifts need employees. Terrence wants to see all of his unmanned shifts as a list. Let's see how we can isolate that information in Tableau Prep. So here, again, we have our employees. I filtered down to just the servers since we're trying to see how the servers relate to our server schedule. Once again, let's do a drag and drop to complete our join. Here we can see that Tableau Prep has automatically assigned our columns to be role and role, but we're really interested in seeing our server names. So I'm going to change the join clause through this dropdown. Now we can see that there are excluded values from both sides of our table. We can click in to see exactly what these values are. On the orange table, which are the list of our employees, we can see that Carlo, Sunny, and Vito do not have shifts assigned to them. Similarly, we can click on this red bar here at the bottom to see all of the shifts that still need employees. If we want to see these in our join result, we just need to click on the Venn diagram again. So let's include the employees who need shifts, and let's include the shifts that need employees. If we exclude the intersect, we can see all tuples that need some sort of assignment. So here we can see that on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there are shifts that don't have any employees assigned to them. And we can see that Carlo, Sunny, and Vito are our new employees who don't have shifts yet assigned to them. And with that information, Terrence can easily schedule these 3 employees into the designated time slots. So, to summarize what we just did, we did a full outer join like this. Every employee who was assigned a shift and every shift that already had an employee assigned represented the intersect. Every employee who did not have a shift represented the left side. And every shift that did not have an employee was represented by the right side. We demonstrated just one case where data we actually want to work with is not the data that's matched by our joins. With Tableau Prep, we were able to easily collect the unmatched values from our join clause and take action, like assigning roles to Sunny, Vito, and Carlo. This kind of scenario can be applied outside of Terrence's restaurant. For example, we could use this technique to assign mentors with mentees, or to figure out work items that are left over and can be filled with employees with bandwidth. The different types of joins allow us to select the data that we want and filter out the data that we don't need. The ability to select data is why I think joins are very powerful transformations. And on that note, I'm going to hand it back to the restaurant owner himself, Terrence.
Test. Oh, good. Yeah, so I was busy managing my restaurant in the back just now in front of everybody. Cool. So we're going to get a little bit funkier and go towards range join conditions, and we are going to use them to measure the occupancy of my restaurant, or the occupancy of anything if you want. Range joins are typically used with things called slowly changing dimensions. Don't look this up on Wikipedia. You will go down a rabbit hole and end up reading about relational algebra for a long time. I don't recommend it. So I'm going to boil this down and say that a slowly changing dimension is really just something that's best measured with a start and an end, instead of having a record for every unit of time in between. For instance, if you have a person who enters into a hospital for care, you don't need to have a record for every hour that you're there. You just need an admission time and a discharge time. The same thing can be found with job term lengths, subscription times, assignment durations, or what have you. And it doesn't even have to be just in time. It can be a range of some other kind, as long as there's a beginning and an end. And range joins are used with slowly changing dimensions because when you have tables like this, which are the managers for a given account over time, and the sales for that account over time, how are you going to figure out which manager is responsible for which sales? Joins are usually equijoins. That is the familiar bread and butter of joins. But there's nothing in the left table that equals anything in the right table. So what are you going to do? Surprise, it's a range join. Great. We're going to use this set of join conditions, and they usually come in pairs with a range join, to show, to join the sales based on whether or not that sale date falls within that beginning and ending interval. And you end up with a table that looks like this. Everybody cool? Cool. So for me, how this can help me is I'm getting a lot of really nasty feedback from my employees, which keeps me up at night and makes me feel bad. They said that they are either bored out of their minds or falling over themselves trying to keep up with a huge workload. So I wonder myself, am I allocating my resources efficiently? I don't know. Let's find out. So, there we go. Cool. So here is my table of when my customers enter and leave my restaurant. You see the in time, you see the out time. And I also have recorded the party size to know how many people they are. I have another table that I'm going to use in this join that I call time of day. And y'all can do this at home. It is really quite simple. I just made a bunch of 30-minute segments, 10, 10:30, et cetera. And so you can fill this in with any sort of interval size you want, 15 minutes, single minutes if you really hate yourself. You could do it with calendar days, with whatever you want, any kind of full range that you want to employ. So I'm going to join this slowly changing dimension here with the time of day. Building on our previous example, we're going to make this an outer join, so I include all the times of day that I don't have anybody in the restaurant. Otherwise, it would look kind of silly, to be honest. And the conditions are the in time is less than time of day, the out time is greater than time of day. So we only want things that fall into that interval. So when you take this data, you can go and visualize something like this. Bingo. This is my restaurant occupancy over the course of a single day. All of the parties that came in for 2 hours are reflected in several different bars. I can do a little bit of icing on the cake and actually drag this onto color and show you who were the people who stayed a long time. Like this green party of 6 stayed a really long time, but this part isn't necessarily necessary. I now know the demands of my restaurant. I know when it's busiest, when I need to have people and when I don't need to have people. But this still goes back to my employees not being very happy about it. I know my restaurant busyness, but do I know my shift distribution? Not yet, but I will. You can do exactly the same thing here. You can join with time of day, and instead of your customer entry and exit times, I can do my shift start and end times. And when that pops out, looks like this. It's not the prettiest. It's a little bit blocky. And when you put it next to my restaurant occupancy, it looks a little bit stupid. I might not be a very good shift coordinator. As you can clearly see, I have way too many people on duty throughout most of the day over here, when I only have a few people here and there. And then later on, during the busiest hours of the day, I have only added one more person. Yeah, I have a lot to work on, very clearly. But you can imagine the applicability of this. If you have, the number of your total subscribers to your service over time, you can measure it as such, and you can put that against, for instance, the number of servers you have hosting your online service to measure whether or not your resources are actually meeting your traffic demands. So possibilities are limitless. Everybody cool with that? Any clarifying questions? Great, cool. All right, moving forward to our final case here. I want to open with a quote. Open with a quote from Leonardo da Vinci. One can have no smaller or greater mastery. The mastery of oneself joins. Which is the real quote, and everything else is a translation error. I swear. Self-joins are an interesting case. Self-joins defy a lot of our intuitions about what we're doing with joins, because we're not actually connecting our data to any other data. In other words, this is purely a reshaping operation, but it's actually super cool. You can use self-joins to measure the correlation between certain values in a certain column. And you can use it to look at not just the correlation between two single values, but how whole chunks of them are grouped together. So, back to the restaurant. I told you I'd loop back to it, and I am. I love food. This is why I did this. I want to know about my menu. I want to dream about creating a beautiful symphony of synergistic flavors. In other words, I want to know whether or not my pairings are going well, or if there are unexpected pairings I didn't really foresee. So how do I do that? Self-join. And I'm going to have a couple of semi-formulas here. Not quite. But these are things that we really need. And I'm going to have some key terms here. There are the values that we want to explore. I'm going to call this the column of interest. Column of interest, values you want to explore. In this case, it is my menu items. I want to know how my menu items are playing nice together. The second thing I need is a way that they are grouped. I don't care about all orders. I really care about orders in the same meal. That is the grouping column here. To take this to another domain, if I wanted to inspect how prescriptions are prescribed together, I would be interested in the medications as my column of interest, and my grouping column would be the patients. Don't care if two different patients take a medicine. I care what medicines are taken by the same patient. That's how they're grouped. And finally, for visiting purposes, I want to have a unique ID for each row. Trust me, it's important. Super nice. Great. And my join condition is going to be grouping column 1 equals grouping column 2. Now what that's going to do is it's going to relate every row in a given group to every other row in that same group. And then this is where the second condition comes in. When I relate every row in a group to every row in that group, I'm relating something to itself. But I don't want that. I don't want to correlate a glass of wine with itself. I want to correlate that glass of wine with the shrimp scampi next to it. So that second column, that second condition eliminates that little corner case here. So, swap, nice. Using this self-join, right here. Like I said, this is my grouping column equals my grouping column. The meal equals the meal. And I am eliminating double counting the same thing, so that particular row is not equal to that particular row. This reshaping operation actually balloons the data size up from 50 rows each to 588, but that's not too big to manage. And I can use the data that results from this to make a viz like this. What is this? Well, these are my menu items by popularity. Shrimp scampi is the biggest one. It's a great dish, really. So I want to see what people like with shrimp scampi. Well, I can use this little drop down here, and I'm going to select back to shrimp scampi, and bingo, what do I have here? This is how commonly other menu items are ordered with the one that I selected from my drop down. So semi-unsurprisingly, shrimp scampi is commonly ordered with shrimp scampi. Well, when one person's ordered, everybody kind of wants to bandwagon on, don't they? But it's also very commonly paired with bruschetta and Pinot Noir by the bottle. I don't know why. So you can inspect every pairing in the same way. People who like steak will often cause other people who like steak to order steak. Steak bandwagoning effect. It could be a thesis. And you can perform this for any value in your column of interest. And again, this is applicable to many different things. If you want to explore comorbidities within patients, you could drop this down and see, okay, what's commonly paired with tuberculosis? Oh, it's that. Yeah. But that's not all that you get out of this self-join technique. You actually also get what I like to call meal compositions. So here, each of these meal IDs is a meal. The size of the bar is how many orders compose that meal, and this is colored by what the menu items are. So this sort of very colorful view can help you get a sense of how things are clustered together in general and can possibly inform how you want to explore individual item correlations as well. Again, we have our big blocks of shrimp scampi and big blocks of steak. Yeah. And I can put them all together to see my lovely menu items and who likes them. Everybody cool? Any questions on that? Cool. I'm going to briefly show the formulas for each of these vizzes. What you do is you put the count distinct variety on columns, column of interest from table 1 on rows, and then you make a filter from column of interest on the other table. What that looks like is gone and gone. Link viz, take my row ID. Count distinct. Wait, there it is. Count distinct. Now, the menu items, my column of interest, drag it out to the row shelf. There's everything. But I want to look at pairings for a particular item. So I drag the same column of interest from the other table, make a filter out of it, show filter, and last but not least, change the filter type to a single value dropdown. Bam. And here I am. For the second viz that we just showed, the formula is pretty similar. You put the count distinct row IDs on the columns again. Instead of the column interest on rows, you put the grouping column. And you put the column of interest instead onto the colors card. So, my favorite row ID, the grouping column being the meal column, and the column of interest goes on the color card. And bingo, here you are. So, just to recap here, what we've done here today is actually a rather amazing thing. We have solved 3 drastically different problems with 3 drastically different vizzes, all coming from the same single relational operator, that being joins. There's a lot you can do with them. There are a lot of options available when you're trying to tweak your join. And right here, we're just kind of scratching the surface. So while I've shown a couple of interesting cases that are applicable in several domains, I encourage all of you to check out more, like think outside the box. Joins really are not limited, especially not like any other operation. The possibilities go on, and you could probably find a creative solution for whatever problem you come up with. So, think on it. All right. So, at the end of this talk, don't forget to complete your session surveys in your My My evaluation's been your TC18 app, and I would now like to open the floor to questions. You, sir.
This goes for data cleaning. Is there an ideal order of operations before you start joining your data? Should you join first, then clean, then join?
I find it easiest that or if you're gonna continue using the values of the join after, then you could do it just directly in the join. But if you still want to just use that table by itself, you can kind of use the join to find where the problems are, but do the actual cleaning for that table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it's kind of a nonlinear thing. Just like Joanna said, if you're not sure where your problems lie and you have a quality bar like a source of truth table, start with the join, move back. But if you already know that one column is just, so wonky that you don't even want to touch it, you can just start with that and forget the join. Yes. So you're asking for if two people start on the same date and end on different dates? I suppose you would have to change that up somehow. That particular example really applies when the whole range of dates is partitioned into individual chunks as opposed to overlapping chunks. Although, if you want to ascribe the sale to both people who are on duty at that time, then this technique would work just fine. Yes, sir.
So I haven't worked with Prep much, but what you're showing when you're cleaning the data point that either manually or through some automation of recognition. I suppose that there's a difference between working with a database that you might have read-write access to versus an Excel file that you actually do want to change. Is there any actually transaction happening to the file, or is it just
No. Yeah, so just for this instant, you would export it as some kind of extract, but we currently do not support writing back.
Right. Yeah. And how is that? Is that anywhere else visible as kind of an alias that you have?
So for
Alias, in your data set that you would know later that was changed.
I would say no. I'd say that, in Tableau Prep, all the modifications are just done in memory in the app, and so it's never going to really affect your data source unless you build your next data flow based on the results of this one. Cool. Yeah. Don't be shy, y'all. I'm right here. Yes.
So any recommendations on how, so I'm trying to put two disparate databases together.
Mhm.
Basically what I'm finding out is I've got a many relationship. So I'm wondering if you can basically pull one row to account the statement of that row and then bring it back to itself.
Pull one row.
So in my case you have a contract number, right? And then you have contract information in two different databases.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering how, because I know a join is much better. I found that blending works, but I'm trying to get back to solve the problem with the join because performance-wise it's faster.
I'd like to probably see an example of that if you're here for a few minutes.
I actually feel like the upcoming data model, the object model that we're going to release in Tableau Desktop would probably help here.
It probably would.
Just because whenever you have many-to-many relations, it's nice to define the level of detail for each thing. Because when you join, you end up with a lot of duplicate rows, and that's really not something we can do in prep, and it just needs to be the way that you define that model, which will be coming in object model. I don't know if you saw the keynote for it, but I'm really excited for that. Yeah.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, no problem. Are we here? Okay.
Yeah, you.
So here's the self join. We have the table and the table again. And when we put them together, we have our grouping column equals the grouping column. And then we eliminate this duplicate corner case by saying the individual row ID cannot equal the individual row ID. No problem. Yeah. This one's kind of, self-joins are kind of tricky to deal with sometimes, I'll be honest. But this is how it works for this case. Yes? Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah. At any point,
Hit the button.
oh, this one, right?
Yeah.
At any point, you can preview your data in Tableau Desktop. So this will just take a snapshot of your current join, and well, we could press it. I think it should.
It automatically opens it. It's
It'll
pretty sweet.
automatically just open it in another workbook. So if we go to the data tab here, that's all of our data. And you can do that at any cleaning step. So like if you're like at clean 1, there's also, you'll see you can preview it in Tableau Desktop. So really it's just an easy way to go between prep and desktop. Because usually it's like you're finding insights and you need to go clean something else, you come back. So there's a lot of going back and forth.
It personally saves me a lot of time. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
For the, under sources was a wildcard?
Yeah.
Is it called wildcard union?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you looked at my first case, I did this like union and it had all my days of the week. Just in my next case, it was easier for me to just do one wildcard union. So here they all have, they're prefixed with orders, so I just matched the file or the table name by orders.
Quick note, you get to that when you, what was the thing called? Whenever you're on an input step, you see it says multiple files. Currently it says single table. If you click wildcard union, it becomes like this.
Yeah, so
And so you get to like set a wildcard pattern, maybe change what folder you're looking at, and it will grab all the tables and save you some visual clutter in the actual flow.
So in that scenario, maybe one of the most important things is that the file name or the folder name is consistent or maintained. Okay.
Yeah.
And then within that, I imagine the column heading within a file. It's important that the column headings are consistent.
Yes.
Otherwise, you find the problems and you fix them. What if one week they submit and the column orders are different the next week? Everything, the file name was correct, the column headings are correct. They just got them in a different order in the next data set to be pulled in from the wildcard. Does it care about column order?
I don't think it does. I think it will just match on column name. And if you do have like mismatched columns, you can do this at any cleaning step. You just drag and drop and it'll merge 2 columns together. So if the column names were different, you could fix that in prep as well.
Right, so even if, okay, wow, you can
Oh, yeah.
fix the column name problem with that. That's cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's go all out. Let's do it.
You probably don't have to worry about the column order.
Yeah, yes,
It goes based on
yes, yes.
What happens if what happens if one week has 7 columns and the next week has 6 columns?
Well, I
In
think,
other words, maybe they're excited they can do one more set of data on week 3.
So
Week 2, week 3.
it'll still go into the union, but it'll have null values for every place it doesn't
right,
appear.
so we can like, for example, if we uncheck something here and look at our union, we can see that there's like a mismatched part of the union now as well. So it'll tell you like which tables are matching and which are not, so you can see it.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, but that's for unions. We could do a whole nother talk on.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, no
I mean,
worries.
floor is
yeah.
totally open. That's also really pretty to look at.
It is, all the colors are
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, for example, we use Excel files, but this might be more of a data prep question. In terms of if you're connected to, let's say, a core database, because you have 5 data streaming in, and in terms of pushing the extracts to a Tableau file, I think what I'm going to
Yeah, I believe so. So, like, you can connect to live data, and I know here, like, if you, like, updated it, you can refresh, and then we'll run the flow again. And whenever you, like, create an output step and run the flow, like, that creates a new, like, that will write to the file again, like, wherever your output is.
So what I was thinking was that the workflow would be like a skeleton, and how I would like it's so let's say like through the dashboard onto the server, because obviously I don't want to constantly refresh
Mhm.
reports,
Right.
so that the skeleton of the flow would be connected to let's say a dashboard that's being responsive.
So I think this is taken care of with Prep Conductor, right?
I was going to say that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can publish your flows to a server or online and give it a refresh schedule, and it will run that flow, and whatever output you point it to, it'll totally update it on a schedule or as it like receives new data. Yeah. Scheduling's important.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thank
course.
you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks y'all for coming out.